Hello, welcome to the show. I'm glad you come back, and I hope you invite your friends. Just call your friends up and say, hey, go to your computer and watch this show, and you'll grow in the Lord. That's my hope for you. And today we're talking about a man named Elisha. Now, there are two E's, big E's, in the Old Testament, Elijah and Elisha. I knew some twins in Amarillo, Texas, that were named Elijah Demerson and Elisha Demerson, and both were judges. Isn't that interesting? Wonderful men, godly men, fine men, Elisha and Elijah. Who came first? Well, the first one was Elijah, and I taught a lesson on him recently, and you can watch it. You can go online, watch it again, all about Elijah. He was such a mighty prophet. You know, he did things nobody had done before, and he stunned people with his faith and his courage, because it's possible to do miracles if you're led by the Lord. And there are plenty. I'm not putting that down at all, but to do them in front of an evil head of a country who could have you killed at any moment, who hated you, who resented you, and had a wife that despised you. And yet you had to be faithful to your God and do what your God told you to do. And Elijah did that. He said, as the Lord lives, there will be no rain in this country for 3 years unless I say so. Now, why did he say it like that? Because even though they were Jewish people who were supposed to be worshiping God and serving God, they really were following a false god, Baal, who did shameful things. And the people did shameful things that followed that idol. And yet they did. But this man, the king, Ahab, had an extremely wicked wife, a controlling Jezebel. Her name was Jezebel. That's where we get the name, the Jezebel spirit, that you see in marriages, you see in businesses, you see in church work. Somebody, male or female, wants to be in control, wants to run everything, and they have very bad intentions. There's none of it that's good, and you have to get rid of them. So that was also Elijah's job. Now, as he did that, he did great things for God. And as I taught in that previous lesson, Elijah was a man just like us. But now who comes on the scene? Elisha. Elisha was a farmer, and he was out in the field, and I think he had, I've forgotten how many oxen teams he had, maybe 12, I can't remember. But he was out plowing, just doing his life. We don't know what his life was like before Elijah came into his life to mentor him, to teach him everything he was doing, and to help transfer that to Elisha. And so Elijah came to Elisha and said, come follow me. Come on. And Elisha said, well, let me talk to my mom and dad first. So he must have been a young man. And he said, all right. And he sacrificed one of the oxen, and he dedicated himself to the Lord and followed Elijah. And then Elijah took him under his wing and began to teach him how to do what needed to be done to serve the Lord in a very difficult time and to serve the Lord at a very high level. All of us are called to serve the Lord wherever we are. But a lot of times you can be called to a higher level and you don't really realize it. And it only happens when you begin serving the Lord with 100% heart. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, look at me. I am a woman. I'm an older woman. I'm a grandmother. I'm from a little tiny town of 11,000 people. And yet, when I was about 10 or 11, I knew I had a call on my life. By God, I could feel it inside me. I received the salvation of Jesus Christ into my heart, into my life when I was 9 years old. When I was 10 years old, I felt the Spirit of God calling me. for what we called in the church I was in at the time, the denomination, called for special service. And I was scared and I didn't want to do it. I didn't know. I looked at the people around me that I thought were religious and they were boring. And I thought, I want an exciting life. I don't want to do something boring. And if you work for God, it's probably boring. And I was so wrong. I was so wrong. But I had to learn. And God came to me when I was 26 and began to talk to me about, give me your life. Give me all your life, Betty. Whatever I want you to do, you say yes. Give me a blank piece of paper. Sign your name at the bottom. Say, Lord, you fill it in and I'll do it. I was 26 years old, a mother with a small child and another one on the way. And I did that and my life changed and it was great. It was wonderful. And I discovered the Spirit-filled life is a different life from Christianity that is more carnal or more worldly or absolutely not totally dedicated. And I became totally dedicated. I didn't know what for. Now, why am I telling you that story? I'm telling you because God's plan for my life that actually happened and has happened and continues to happen, I never had any idea. I never knew what it was going to be. But someone came into my life, was a powerful influence on my life for Jesus, and I made the decision to follow him. So when I did that, I set about just learning to know God, learning how to read the Bible, learning how to ask questions of my mentors. Now, this lesson today is about how to mentor people and how it was done in the Bible with Elijah mentoring Elisha. So I want you to take notes if you have paper because you may be called by God. In fact, I know you're called by God because it says in the Bible, go into all the world and make disciples. So you're going to be mentoring somebody, but it can be at different levels. You can be just in your own family with your own children. Maybe you teach a class, but then maybe you don't. Maybe you start out there and then God increases you and increases your call as you prove faithful each step of the way. And I tried very hard to do that. I made mistakes. I need to be very honest with you. I made some serious mistakes that I even regretted. And God just said, it's okay, Betty. You don't have to be perfect. Let's go. Let's keep going. And as that happened, I began to realize I had a call to the world. And then amazingly, I had a call to world leaders. Now you got to think about what I'm telling you. Little girl from little town, big call. Only God knew it. Wasn't anybody around me that knew it. But at the right time, an Elijah came across my life and called me out to greater things, greater commitment, greater activity. It's really possible to be the kind of Christian that talks about the Bible, talks about the miracles, talks about the evangelizing of the lost, talks about all of that, but doesn't do it. And I didn't want to be like that. I was scared. And like I told you, I made mistakes, but I tried really hard. And I had a mentor, a woman, and I could go back to her and say, I said this, they said that. I did this, they did that. What should I have done? Every single time she led me in the correct way, just like Elisha did when he got under the tutorship or the mentorship of Elijah. So let's look at this. Let's just talk about it. Look at 2 Kings 2, 1-6, this first verse. When the Lord was about to take Elijah up in a whirlwind, Elijah and Elisha were on their way to Gilgal, from Gilgal. Elijah said to Elisha, stay here. The Lord has sent me to Bethel. But Elisha said, as surely as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you. So they went down to Bethel. The company of the prophets at Bethel came out to Elisha and asked, Do you know that the Lord's going to take your master from you today? Yes, I know, Elisha replied, so be quiet. Then, and this is a testing process that Elisha and Elijah were experiencing. Elijah was testing him to make sure he was willing to go where he needed to go. And he would stay with that and not back off of it. So look again at this first verse. Elijah said to him, stay here, Elisha, I'm sorry, it's very hard to keep them straight. The Lord has sent me to Jericho. And Elisha replied, as surely as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you. So they went to Jericho. Now the company of the prophets at Jericho went up to Elisha and asked him, do you know that the Lord's going to take your master from you today? Yes, I know, Elisha replied, so be quiet. Then Elijah said to him, stay here. The Lord has sent me to the Jordan. And Elisha replied, as surely as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you. So the two of them walked on. Now, what was that all about? Why did he say it like this, as surely as the Lord lives and as you live? Because it was considered during that time and really goes on today. When a person dies in authority, either in a family like a father or a mother, but especially a father, a leader, everybody wants to be there in their last moments in case they pronounce a blessing on the person going forward with the plan, with the call, with the work. And so Elisha wanted to be around his mentor, Elijah, in case he said to him, I give you this, or I give you that, or you'll do this. Now, I want you to go ahead and look at this second verse in 2 Kings 2, 9-10. When they had crossed the Jordan, Elijah said to Elisha, tell me what I can do for you before I'm taken from you. Let me inherit a double portion of your spirit, Elisha replied. You've asked for a difficult thing, Elijah said. Yet, if you see me when I'm taken from you, it will be yours. Otherwise, it will not. So, I want to give you a little background about what happened between going to the Jordan and this conversation. Elijah had a mantle, a robe, that was very important in his life. Kept him warm, kept the rain out, but it just gave him dignity and stature. So right when they got to the Jordan, and Elisha was still there, wasn't going to give up until he knew he had gotten what he was there sticking with him for. Elijah folded up his mantle at the water, threw it on the water. The rivers parted. The road was dry. The creek bed was dry, lake bed. Walked through it on dry land. Where do you know about that before? You know about it with Moses, parting the Red Sea. But it happened again with Elijah. And they went through. Now, I want to tell you what you're going to find out. Only 2 people in the whole Bible did not die and they be put on a grave. God took them to heaven. One of them was Enoch. Enoch walked with God and was no more. Doesn't say he died. And Elijah went up in a chariot that came down from heaven with fiery horses. Now that's mighty, 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 mighty. And there's no telling what all's in heaven. It's not like you think it is. It is not like you think it is. If people tell you, oh yeah, it's going to be so boring, we can go up there and sit on a cloud and have on wings and be playing a harp. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's nothing that's truthful about that at all. Because heaven is a real place and earth is only the preparation for all of eternity living in a different place with trees, grass, shrubs, people, music, joy, jobs, things to do, things God set you up to do. So Elisha said, as long as you're here, as the Lord lives and as you live. He didn't say, and when you die. That's big. You got to pay attention to these little things in the Bible because they have meaning. As you live, and basically he was going, as long as you live. As long as the Lord lives and as long as you live, I'm sticking with you. And so they went across. And when they crossed, the tests, and I'll go over what they were all about, had happened, and Elisha had passed. He had stuck with it, stuck with it, stuck with it. And that's when he said, tell me, what can I do for you before I'm taken from you? Again, he didn't say before I die. You know, Elijah knew something inside himself. I'm not going to die. I'm going to be taken. Why would he say that otherwise? He said, let me get a double portion of your spirit. Now, you think about somebody you know that's very intelligent, and you would like a double portion of his intelligence. Or maybe he's very talented in music, some instrument. I'd like a double portion of that. So it was a really big deal. And Elijah said, you've asked for a difficult thing, but if you see me, when I'm taken, it'll happen. And sure enough, that chariot came, he went off. And what happened next? Well, Elisha, did he learn from his mentor? Did he not? First test came, first big thing. And he took that cloak, that mantle, picked it up. Look at this verse. He picked up Elijah's cloak that had fallen from him, and he went back and stood on the bank of the Jordan. And he took the cloak that had fallen from Elijah and struck the water with it. Where now is the Lord, the God of Elijah? When he struck the water, it divided to the right and to the left, and he crossed over. And the company of prophets from Jericho who were watching said, the spirit of Elijah is resting on Elisha. And they went to meet him, and they bowed to the ground before him. So the future of Christianity depends on us passing on to our children, our grandchildren, the things of God, where they'll serve the Lord. It depends also on your passing on what God has taught you to the next generation of Christian leaders. It's your responsibility. Are you doing it? And how do you go about doing it? To mentor and structure the person that's coming after you. Well, one thing is you get around them and you see, how do they act under stress? Do they run away and say, I'm not going to do it? Well, Elisha didn't do that. Then the next thing that happens as a mentor, you demonstrate how to perform the works of God, including the signs and wonders. You can be taught by somebody how to prophesy. You can be taught how to heal people. You can be taught how to cast out demons. You can be taught how to pray. You can be taught how to read the Bible. You can be taught how to give any word God wants you to give. It's an amazing thing to have a mentor instead of having to learn it by yourself. So it's very important for you to watch and learn. And I remember the year the Lord said to me, I was the minister of women of a very large church, a mega church. And I really didn't know how to move in signs and wonders. I was very interested in it because I knew Jesus did it. And I knew he said, we're going to do it. But how do you do it? And I thought, if I just had a mentor, if I just had an Elijah, I could do it. Well, I did. There was a pastor in the church. I was a minister of women. He was a pastor. His name was Jerry. We called him Jerry Mack. And he always prayed every Wednesday for people to be healed. So I said to him, could I possibly come and stand beside you and watch how you pray for people? He said, sure. So I went every Wednesday, And I watched how people got healed, how he gave words to people, how he knew things about people that he couldn't possibly have known. But it was very encouraging to them because the people realized it's God talking to me. And so I was asked a lot of questions. How did you know to do this? How did you know the person had bad knees or the person had this problem with their back? How did you know that? And he would say, God reveals it to me. Well, how do I know it then, Jerry? And he said, watch me while I do it. Then you try it. And you let me watch you and help you and guide you. And then you do it by yourself. And I did that. Was I scared? Absolutely. Crazy scared. It's like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. But I had him there to help me. And there came a point where he pushed me out of the nest. Now, isn't that what a mother eagle does? She raises up those eagles and then she takes them out flying, and then all of a sudden she's out with them and she drops away and they're just fluttering those wings as fast as he can. And they did it. And I had to do it. There came a day he did that to me. So I've had a lot of mentors. I've had men mentors. I've had women mentors. It's very interesting how they've come into my life. They seem to come for the next thing God wants to teach me and wants me to get good at. So that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Elisha said, I want to do double miracles. He'd been thinking about that. That was a thought within his own heart. I want to do what he does, but I'd like to do double. That's a young guy. They're going to get out there and think that. But you have to have 3 things in order for you to pick up somebody's mantle, in order for you to pick up their calling or their teaching. What are these 3 things that are very important? Well, one is commitment. We talked about that. I showed you that. One is experience. I talked to you about that just now, about finding someone to mentor for signs and wonders and healing. And motives. That's the other one. You have to have very pure motives when you're serving the Lord. Now, I know you know as well as I do, you see people that don't. But that's between them and God. Because as for me, I'm going to do what God wants done. I've already made up my mind. I'm going to do it. So tell me what you want and purify my motives. You can pray to God, purify my motives, and He will. He'll show you where, little over here, you're thinking this, little over here, you're thinking that, change this, change that, and you do. And then God says, okay, let's go up higher. There's always new levels with God. And every time you go, God will have a person there for you to talk to and grow from and ask questions of. I've never been ashamed that I ask a lot of questions. I always thought, well, they can think I'm asking too many questions, or they can think this woman needs help. But it was never like that. A really good mentor wants you to succeed, wants to help you. They will think of things for you to do. I have about 5 mentors right now. I have about 5 Elijahs in my life right now. Now, who are they? Well, a couple of them are men, a couple of them are women, and 2 of them are people. One of them's dead, but I have his book, My Utmost for His Highest. His name is Oswald Chambers. What a great mentor. Now, he's not going to know about me till he gets to heaven. I get to heaven and we talk, because he's been dead quite a long time. But I read that daily devotion. There is no way you can read that and not grow. You're either going to read it and go, nope, I'm out of here, or you're going to read it and go, all right, God, okay, I'm going to do it. And that's how Elisha was. Elisha had people come against him. He had people mock him. I think he was bald. I think he got bald early. And he had a little bit of a temper, kind of a gripey kind of guy. He had to get that worked out of his life. And he had to learn how to stand alone, how to withstand criticism. Sometimes the people that criticize you the most are the people that you work with, even in Christianity, even in your job, even in anything you're doing. And you think, you should be supporting me. Well, let me ask you something. Are you doing that for the people around you? You know, that's how you make disciples. Go into all the world and make disciples. You've got to be there for people. You've got to help people. So you can pray and ask God to help you become a successful leader, and you can pray for God to give you a mentor or mentors for different areas of your life. Just look around and see. They can be anywhere. They can be online. Did you know that? For those of you that are living in a country and you think, I don't have anybody like that around me, I wouldn't even know who to go to. Well, go to YouTube. Check out the preachers on YouTube. There's some really good ones. I can recommend two, Jimmy Evans and Robert Morris. Just look them up. There's just a lot of them on there that are very good. Bill Johnson is a great teacher. You can find wonderful teachers on the internet that can become like your mentor, and yet they don't know you. I can tell you another one, Stephen Furtick. He's a young guy. Andy Stanley, young, sort of young now. They're out there, and their heart's desire is to find people who want to go with God 100%. And you can do it. They're for everything. If you want to learn about dream interpretation, John Paul Jackson has passed away, but he's on YouTube. You just think about what you would like to learn about. Evangelism, whatever, teaching, spiritual gifts, inner healing and deliverance. You can go to bettyswan.com and you can watch my videos and learn a lot. And they're on YouTube too also. Not just Wisdom in the Night videos, but teaching videos, even ones like these that I'm doing here. So it's possible to grow and have a mentor, and you can live in a place that your only access is a computer. So I want to encourage you, begin to step out in the call God has for you. He loves you. Hello, I'm Betty Swan, the woman who interviews people on the show. I want to tell you about something we're doing that you might want to be a part of. Feeding people with pennies and small change you find. The exchange rate makes them valuable. I saved $3.22, told my friends on social media, and they shared it. $215,000 has come in, 100% goes for food. We've fed people in 21 countries. Come help us.